you ever had one of those moments where your entire life shifts? Not the kind of change that comes wrapped in light or magic, but a slip, a free fall, the kind of moment where the ground beneath your feet disappears, and all you're left with is betrayal. It was a Wednesday morning in February, the 17th, 12 degrees below zero, the front yard buried in a blanket of snow. I was up by 4:45 a.m., same as always. 15 years of working the early shift at the plant, and not once did weather keep me home. Michelle, my wife, was still asleep. 8 years together, and not once did she wake early to help me clear the snow. But I never complained, because I was the man of the house, the father, the husband, the provider. I layered up, pulled on my gloves, stepped outside, and grabbed the shovel, wading knee-deep through snow like I had so many times before. Every breath I took fogged the air like factory smoke. Quiet, steady. Half the driveway cleared, and my fingers were starting to go numb. I decided to step back inside for a few minutes, just to warm up. And that was the moment everything started to fall apart. Michelle had left her phone on the kitchen counter, unlocked, screen still glowing. I'm not the snooping type, but the message popped up right in front of me. A text from someone saved under just one letter, W. She wrote, "He's out there like an idiot in this snowstorm. If we're lucky, he'll have a heart attack and we won't even have to wait for the divorce." The reply? 3 laughing emojis. I froze. It felt like a fist to the chest, the kind of punch that knocks the air out of your lungs, leaves your ears ringing. But this cold, it didn't come from the snow. This was inside me, a deep, cutting kind of cold. But I didn't lose it. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I put the phone back exactly where it was, pulled on my gloves again, stepped outside, and went right back to shoveling snow. Each scoop of that shovel felt like clearing away pieces of my own trust. That's when it hit me. The woman I loved was hoping I'd die. From that moment on, the house stopped being a home. Every wall whispered secrets. Every room swallowed my silence. That evening, I came home like I always did, on time, like nothing had changed. Michelle greeted me with that same practiced smile and her usual question, "How was your day?" I nodded once, kept my voice even. The usual. Normal? How could anything be normal when the woman lying next to you is silently hoping you'll drop dead in a snowstorm? Just to avoid signing divorce papers? She made dinner like always. Pot roast and mashed potatoes, my favorite. She asked if I wanted wine. I nodded. She poured. I drank. Every move followed the usual script. But inside me, the performance had ended. There were no lines left to say. When she stepped into the bathroom and closed the door, I got up, quiet like a ghost. I walked over to her phone to check again. The password had been changed. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in silence, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing. The same woman who once held my hand in the hospital after my father died. The same woman who cried when I surprised her with Bon Iver tickets for her 30th birthday. I stared at the ceiling fan above us, its ticking hum like a countdown. And I wondered, when is she planning to end this? Is she actually waiting for me to die, or was that just a sick little joke between two people who don't care who they destroy? At 3:00 a.m. I sat up, not because of pain, not because of the cold, but because something inside me had snapped. I grabbed my phone and checked our joint account. Everything seemed fine, until I noticed something small, something terrifying. Michelle hadn't deposited her full paycheck into the account for the last 3 months. I didn't sleep that night. I tore through the house like a quiet storm, checking drawers, old wallets under the bed. And finally, in the pocket of a winter coat she rarely wore, I found it, a hotel receipt, downtown, Saturday, 2 weeks ago, the same weekend she told me she was away for a work training, room service, for 2. I took a photo with my phone, like a reluctant detective collecting his first piece of evidence. That night, I opened the closet, pulled out a pillow, and walked to the couch in the living room. Not to sleep, but to wake up. The next morning, Michelle moved through the house just like she always did, brewing coffee, playing soft jazz, making small talk about the weather. "Colder than yesterday, huh?" she said with a smile, stirring her cup. I smiled back. "Yeah, but at least there's no snow today." There was no snow that day. But inside me, a storm had started. A cold one. The kind that settles deep in your bones and doesn't let go. She left the house at 8:30 a.m. Long coat, beige scarf, high-heeled boots, the ones I gave her last Christmas. And every step she took felt like a blade slicing through old memories. The second the door clicked shut behind her, I grabbed my phone. Called the one person I knew wouldn't ask why, just, "What's the next move?" Floyd. He was at my place in under 20 minutes. Laptop in one hand, a notebook in the other, and, because he's Floyd, a box of sugar-dusted donuts. Like we were about to plan a heist. I told him everything. The message I saw, the hotel receipt, the missing paycheck deposits, the way Michelle's eyes had started looking at me like I was just background noise. Floyd shook his head, fingers already dancing across the keyboard. Man, she's running the classic playbook. Create a fake reality and cast you as the supporting character. We logged into our shared phone account, text logs, call history, and there it was. A mountain of messages to someone saved as William. Nearly 2,000 texts in the last month alone. Most of them sent during lunch breaks. Some phone calls lasting over 47 minutes. Every single day. Floyd stopped scrolling. Who the hell is William? I typed his name into LinkedIn. 30 seconds later, his face stared back at us. William Thornton. Senior partner at the law firm where Michelle worked. Gray hair, bleached white teeth, designer suit. He looked like a man born to betray someone's marriage. I stared at the screen. The man my wife was whispering sweet nothings to. The man she joked about, saying if I died in a snowstorm, life would be easier. The man she was planning her fresh start with. But I didn't explode. Anger is predictable. Instead, I felt focused. That afternoon, I opened a personal bank account, quietly moved half of our savings, my half, into it. Not enough to set off alarms, just enough to make sure I wouldn't be left with nothing. That night, Michelle came home like nothing had changed, walked into the kitchen, took a deep breath over the stew I was making, and smiled. Smells just right. You nailed it. I smiled back. Well, someone deserves a good meal. She chuckled, placed a hand gently on my shoulder like always, as if nothing had happened. But the truth was, everything had. And now every move she made felt like it belonged to a stranger. During dinner, I casually dropped a line. What if we took a trip somewhere in April? We've never done a beach getaway together. Michelle paused for just a second, then smiled. April's tough. Big project at work. Maybe this summer. Summer. Or maybe after I'm buried under the snow. That night, I locked myself in the study, dimmed the lights, and opened a brand new notebook. Across the first page, I wrote, Project, The Anatomy of Betrayal. Phase 1, collect, observe, move like water. No rush, no emotion. Here's a hard truth most people don't want to admit. A cheater doesn't stop unless they're caught. And sometimes we have to play the fool longer than we want, just to see the whole board. The next morning, I called out of work, told them I slipped on the ice and tweaked my back. No one questioned it, just told me to take it easy. Michelle left the house at exactly 8:20 a.m. Charcoal gray suit, red lipstick, the same heels I got her last Christmas. She stood in front of the mirror for a long time, not to look good for her husband, but for someone else. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I got to work. Not like in the movies, no flipping through drawers or digging under the mattress. I started with the last place she'd expect, her winter coat, the one hanging by the back door that she rarely wore but never moved. Inside the inner pocket, a hotel receipt, William's name, 2 nights, weekend stay, double occupancy, room service, red wine. I remember that weekend well. Michelle told me she had training at the branch office. I stayed home, cooked dinner alone, while William was training something else. I snapped a photo, another brick for the fortress of truth I was building. By noon, I called Clara, my older sister. She always looked cold on the outside, but her heart was a steel blade. I told her everything, every text, every doubt, every detail. She didn't speak for a long time, then just said, You need a lawyer. Today, I sighed. I don't even know where to start. You start, she said, by stopping the love for someone who stopped loving you. And just like that, it hit me. Not because it hurt, but because it was the truth. That afternoon, I had my first meeting with Marissa, the divorce attorney Clara recommended. Her office was small, neat, and smelled like paperwork and final decisions. No family portraits, no fake plants, just shelves full of strategy. Marissa listened. No interruptions, no dramatic gasps, just steady nods and a pen scribbling notes like a metronome. When I finished, she looked up and said, You've done everything right. Buy the book. Now it's time to prepare for phase 2. I asked the question that had been burning in my chest for days. Can I lose everything? She pressed her lips together, then replied calmly, If you sit still and wait, you might. But if you act at the right moment, you'll walk away with most of it, your assets and your dignity. Just before I walked out the door, I turned back and said, I don't just want to get divorced. I want her to know she was wrong and have to live with that every day. Marissa didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She just looked at me and said, Then we start by letting her believe she still has control. That night, Michelle lay beside me in bed, back turned, like always. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the wind claw at the windows. People who manipulate, they always think they're the smartest person in the room. But from this moment on, I'd be the clueless husband, the one she thought she had wrapped around her finger, while I quietly laid every trap one by one, not to win, but to end a game I never agreed to play. Monday morning, I told Michelle casually over coffee, "I've got to head out early this week. Boss piled more work on me." The truth? I had taken the entire week off, not to rest, but to set a board in motion, and today the first pawn was going to fall. William. I'd known who he was for a while now. Full name, William Thornton. Project lead at Michelle's firm. Tall, silver hair, sharp suits. The kind of man who plays the role of respectable family guy at company events. Wife, 2 kids, a harmless smile. But I'd read enough of his messages to my wife to know William is anything but harmless. He's a parasite, feeding off the cracks in a marriage, chasing the thrill of secrecy, control, and conquest. So I scheduled a meeting. I waited for William at a cafe near his office, the one he hits every morning at 8 a.m. 8:12 a.m., he walked in, pressed suit, gray tie, phone in hand, totally unaware, until I stood up. "Excuse me, William, right?" "Yes, Then his eyes froze. "I'm Michelle's husband." The color drained from his face. His breath caught. His eyes darted around the room. "I didn't know she—" "You know, I know, and soon, your wife will know too." I placed a sealed envelope on the table. Inside, screenshots, messages, hotel receipts. No threats, no raised voice. Just one sentence. "I don't want your money. I don't need an apology. I just need you to disappear from my wife's life before this makes its way to my attorney. And your wife." He was drenched in sweat, shaking like he just ran a marathon in a blizzard. I'll stop. I swear, please." I stood up, took my coffee, and looked him in the eyes one last time. "Have a great week, William. And if you're any kind of man, keep your word." That evening, Michelle got home earlier than usual. She checked her phone, over and over, furrowed her brow, locked the screen. No glow, no smile, no text from William. "No response from William?" I said casually. She jolted. What? What are you talking about?" "Oh, just asked about work," I said with a grin. She stared, said nothing, and I knew. The first pawn had fallen. In the days that followed, the cracks began to show. Michelle was anxious, distracted, on the phone constantly. I caught her crying in the bathroom more than once. Meanwhile, I played the oblivious husband, reading the paper, cooking dinner, making small talk. But inside, I was prepping the checkmate. "Hey, babe, how about a weekend getaway?" she asked one night. "Sounds perfect," I smiled, because I already had the destination in mind. And that weekend, I'd be escorting her to court. They say when you peel back a lie, you don't just see the truth, you see the fear behind it. And for the first time, I saw Michelle afraid. That weekend, I didn't take her on the getaway she'd hoped for. Instead, I took her to her mother's house. The excuse? A carefully crafted one. "I think we need a little space. Time to reflect. Maybe being near your mom will help you clear your head." She nodded, confused. She didn't protest, didn't ask why, because she knew William was gone. And while Michelle was resting, I moved into phase 2, reclaiming my life. I transferred all personal assets to a separate account, changed every password, banking, email, phone, removed Michelle from the secondary credit card, packed away everything that mattered, family photos, legal docs, heirlooms, and locked them inside a secure company vault. Floyd, my ride or die, helped me lock every exit, shut every window she might use to slip away or strike back, step by step, move by calculated move. On the third day, without a single text from William, Michelle finally called, her voice shaky. "Hey, are you okay? You've just been off. Are you mad at me?" I kept it cool, calm, dead quiet. "I'm just thinking about everything." Nothing more. Nothing she could grip onto. Because when a liar doesn't know what you know, that's when they're at their weakest. That evening, Michelle came home. I kept everything the same. Dinner, candles, music, soft lighting, the illusion of us. She walked in and flinched, like she'd stepped back into a version of our marriage she thought was gone. "You made dinner?" "Yeah, your favorite." She ate in silence, hands trembling slightly as she lifted her wine glass. In her eyes, there wasn't affection. There was fear, the look of someone who just realized they'd lost the very thing they never thought they'd have to fight for. After dinner, she tried, reached for my hand, a soft touch, an attempt to fix years of betrayal with a single gesture. I pulled away gently. "I'm tired, gotta be up early." She froze, stood there, confused, and for the first time, she was silent the entire night. The next morning, I left a single envelope on the kitchen table. Inside, bank statements, printed text threads between her and William, a copy of the divorce papers, unsigned, and one line, handwritten, "I'm still alive, but the trust is dead." I locked the door behind me before she even woke. From the street, I could see her silhouette in the upstairs window, motionless, envelope in hand. The foundation had crumbled. No shouting, no grand speeches, just silence, cold enough to choke on. When a snowstorm passes, it doesn't just leave behind frost and ice. It leaves behind what's been buried beneath it. And that morning, under a gray sky and slowly melting snow, I came back, not to return, but to end it. I walked into the house. Everything was exactly where I left it, except Michelle. She was sitting at the kitchen table, eyes swollen, that envelope I left now torn open, papers spread across the table like 1,000 cold, sharp cuts across her reality. You read it all? Every word. Her voice cracked. I was just angry. I didn't really want you to die. I sat down across from her, eyes locked. So the hotel nights with William, were those out of anger too? I got caught up. You were distant. You didn't love me like before. I said nothing, just reached into my bag and pulled out the official divorce papers, already signed. I've moved out. You can stay here until the court finalizes things. I'm not here to fight for bricks or furniture. I just want one thing, freedom and the trust you destroyed. Michelle broke down, reaching for my hand. You can't do this. I regret it. I swear. I pulled my hand away. You don't regret doing it. You regret getting caught. A ding broke the silence. A text from my attorney. William has fully withdrawn. HR issued Michelle's suspension this morning. I looked up. At the woman sitting across from me. Not my wife. Not anymore. Just the ghost of betrayal and regret. I'll lose everything. My job. My friends. You're all I have left. No, Michelle. You lost me the night you hoped I'd die in a snowstorm. I stood up. Each step forward felt like I was finally walking out of the fog I had been drowning in for years. Some marriages don't end with a fight. They end in the quiet collapse of a heart that's had enough. And now, I'm no longer the fool shoveling snow at 5 a.m. for a woman who wished I would disappear. I'm the man who stood back up from the cold and chose to live again. Thank you for following this story. If you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever been broken, remember this. You deserve a love that would never, ever wish you gone, just to make things easier. If this story meant something to you, share it. Let someone else know they're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more stories that hit this deep. I'll see you in the next one, where truth speaks louder than lies and strength is built from the wreckage.